All right, let's dive right in. We're jumping into one of the most critical moments in the entire fight between heroes and monsters. This is it. This is where the all-out war really kicks off. Okay, so picture this. We're dropped right into a super tense emergency meeting at the Hero Association. And who's everyone talking about? The hero hunter, Garou. He's not just some martial artist with a grudge anymore. No, he's been officially reclassified as a dragon-level disaster. We're talking a threat capable of wiping out entire cities. The stakes, they literally could not be higher. But here's the kicker. Garou, he isn't even the only world-ending threat they're dealing with. It's so much worse. Humanity is staring down the barrel of a two-pronged attack, coming from completely different but equally terrifying directions. So let's break this down. On one hand, you've got the Monster Association. This isn't just a random mob. It's a strategic, organized army. Their goal is simple: overthrow humanity. And on the other hand, you've got Garou. He's a total lone wolf, a one-man wrecking crew, driven by this intense ideology to become absolute evil. So you have this huge, organized army and this one unstoppable guy. Two totally different kinds of threats, and they're both hitting at the exact same time. It's a nightmare scenario. So you'd think the heroes would come together, right? A unified, brilliant plan to save the world? Yeah, not even close. The truth is, their defense is a complete mess. It's totally fractured, just crippled by egos and distrust before the fight has even started. I mean, just look at Tatsumaki, the S-Class Rank 2 hero. Her attitude is the perfect example of the arrogance that's rotting the top ranks from the inside. She's like, a team? A plan? Why? I'll just go blow up their base. She thinks her power alone is the answer to everything, completely ignoring the fact that there's a hostage and they have no idea how big the enemy army really is.
And oh, it gets so much worse. You think Tatsumaki's bad? Atomic Samurai isn't just overconfident, he's openly hostile to the other heroes. He's literally telling another S-Class hero that his friends are weaklings and he'll make them commit seppuku if they get in the way. It shows this deep contempt that makes any kind of teamwork pretty much impossible. This is not a team, it's just a bunch of rivals stuck in the same room.
And this right here, this quote from Metal Knight just hits the nail on the head. This guy has some of the most advanced tech on the planet. And what's he doing? He's actively feeding paranoia. He's telling Child Emperor, a kid, don't trust anyone, work alone. He's not just saying be careful, he's saying withhold intel from your allies. It's the perfect symptom of a system that's so focused on individual power that it's created this crippling, toxic distrust.
So what's the result of all this infighting and paranoia? Total paralysis. That's what it is. Their number one hero, Blast, nowhere to be found. Drive Knight already got himself defeated trying to go it alone. Crucial intel on the enemy base is being deliberately hidden by other heroes. And all the while, that 3-day clock the monster set is just ticking down, and they have no plan, nothing. And because the Hero Association is just sitting on their hands, it creates this huge power vacuum. So, naturally, someone else steps in. A super rich sponsor whose son is the hostage gets fed up with waiting. He decides to handle it himself, and he deploys his own private army with these advanced battle suits. Suddenly, you've got this whole new, unpredictable faction joining the fight.
Now let's flip the coin. While the heroes are drowning in chaos and ego, the Monster Association, well, they're operating with this chilling efficiency. They have a clear, calculated plan.
And this is their masterstroke. While the heroes were busy arguing, the monsters made a game-changing move. They found Garou, beaten to within an inch of his life, and instead of leaving him to get captured, they brought him back to their headquarters. Think about that. The two biggest threats to humanity are now literally under the same roof. Their plan to flip him is just brutally simple and smart. Step 1, save his life. Now he kind of owes them. Step 2, offer him power, a top executive spot. That plays right into his ambition. And then step 3, a loyalty test. Something simple, something violent, to prove he's really one of them now. And what's the test? It's not some complex puzzle. It's a straightforward, bloody command. Prove you're a real monster. Bring us the head of a hero. He's got to do what he does best, only this time, it's for them. Okay, so you have the monster's perfect plan and the hero's high-stakes drama, but there's a third element. A force of pure, unpredictable chaos that neither side could ever see coming. This is where the real wildcards come into play.
You're not going to believe this. While the world is on the brink of collapse, let's take a peek inside Saitama's apartment.
some of the most powerful people on the planet are completely oblivious. You've got Silverfang, a legendary martial artist, complaining about a sore back. Genos, the S-class cyborg, can't be reached because his communicator melted. King, the guy everyone thinks is the strongest man alive, he's busy playing video games. And Saitama, he's just relaxing. He has no clue a war is about to start.
So what finally gets our main hero, Saitama, off the couch? A noble calling to save humanity? Nope. He hears that Garou has been hunting S-class heroes, and he gets personally offended that Garou hasn't tried to hunt him. His motivation is pure, ridiculous ego. So he storms off not to save the world, but to go find this Garou punk and punch him for the disrespect.
And just like that, every single piece is on the board and in motion. Every faction, whether they're driven by a duty, strategy, desperation, or, sheer pettiness, they are all heading to the exact same spot.
So you've got the S-class heroes finally mobilizing for a rescue, you've got the private army launching its own attack, you've got Garou sent out on his deadly loyalty test, and then you have Saitama just wandering around looking for a fight. All of these separate paths are converging on one location, the Z-City Ghost Town, right on top of the Monster Association's base. An absolutely massive, chaotic collision is about to happen.
Which brings us to the one massive question hanging over everything. When the world's strongest, most official heroes are broken, distracted, or just plain missing, with all the battle lines drawn, who is actually left to save the world?
All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're looking at a world that is just completely, utterly coming undone. We're talking about a society that's been so hammered by constant monster attacks that its own ideas about right and wrong, well, they've started to completely crumble. And it starts with ideas like this. Seriously. You've got a news report broadcasting a new cult, the so-called Human Worshipper Party. And their big idea is that the only way to survive is to start feeding people to the monsters. This isn't some fringe thing whispered in an alleyway. This is on the news. And really, that's the heart of the problem here. When you're faced with these unstoppable threats day after day, the very fabric of society just rips apart. The choice isn't just about fighting or running anymore. For some people, it's about dying or joining the winning team, no matter how monstrous that team is. So, let's take a closer look at just how deep this decay really goes. Because it's not just about giant monsters knocking down buildings. It's about what happens to the people who are left behind in all that rubble. I mean, the news is just grim. The heroes and the police are stretched so thin that you have regular people turning on each other. Robberies, violence, riots in the streets, and it's all driven by this one single desperate thought. Hey, we're all going to get wiped out by monsters anyway, so who cares about the rules? This breakdown from the inside is almost as scary as the monsters on the outside. But while all this is happening, while the world is literally teetering on the edge of total collapse, what is the planet's most powerful hero thinking about? The guy who can solve any problem with just one punch? Well, his priorities are a little different. No, really. Think about it. The world is ending. What could the strongest being on the planet possibly be worried about right now? Okay, so his number one priority is food. After a long day, he sits down and orders pretty much the entire menu. We're talking steak, every salad they have, a mountain of rice. The man's hungry. A little out of touch maybe, but hey, we've all been there. But that's not the real crisis. This is the crisis. He's just polished off this epic meal. He's feeling great. And then that cold, sinking feeling hits him. He forgot his wallet. He's trapped. And to make it all worse, the diner's TV is bragging about its brand new state-of-the-art security system designed specifically to catch people who dine and dash. And this just beautifully captures the whole absurd point of it all, doesn't it? As civilization itself is falling apart, Saitama literally calls his forgotten wallet the biggest crisis in the last year. This incredible disconnect between his godlike power and his very human problems is what makes him so unique. But he's not the only one living a contradiction. So now, let's switch gears and talk about a guy who is actively trying to bring on the apocalypse, the hero hunter, Garou. His entire goal is to become the ultimate monster, the absolute symbol of evil that everyone is terrified of. He says it himself, constantly. He's hunting down heroes, he's working with monsters, and he's trying to become what he calls absolute evil. His whole idea is to become the one great fear that unites all of humanity. even if it's against him. But, his actions, they tell a very, very different story. See, here's where it gets really interesting. You look at it from the perspective of this one little kid, Tario. While Garou was going on about being a monster, Tario sees something totally different. He sees the guy who just saved him from bullies and literally moments before that used his own body to shield him from a spray of bullets fired by heroes. The monster just acted way more heroic than the actual heroes. And that's the whole thing, right? This huge, powerful contradiction. Garou's mission is all about terror and destruction, but his gut instinct is to protect. He's fighting the system, but he ends up saving the most innocent part of it. So if he's not a real monster, who is? Well, that brings us to the real antagonists, the Monster Association. And unlike Garou, they are not having an identity crisis. Oh no. They have a very clear, very cold, very methodical plan. The association's leader, Garou, lets it slip that their king, this terrifying being named Orochi, wasn't some ancient creature from the dawn of time. He used to be a regular human. They made him. He's their masterpiece, their one successful experiment in turning a person into the ultimate life form. And now, they're looking at Garou as their next big project. Garou describes the whole process with this chilling, scientific detachment. It's like a recipe. They don't want Garou as an ally. They want to push him, to break him, to see if he can survive being turned into a perfect monster. And if he dies, whatever. They'll just find some new material and try the experiment again. So this is where it all comes together. You've got a hero, a guy who calls himself a monster, and a truly monstrous organization. Let's just put what they say next to what they actually do. When you lay it out plain and simple like this, the labels just become kind of meaningless, don't they? Saitama, the greatest hero alive, is about to run out on a restaurant bill. Garou, who wants to be absolute evil, instinctively shields a defenseless kid from danger. And the Monster Association, the real monsters, they act like twisted scientists in a lab, treating human lives like nothing more than raw material for their horrible experiments. In this completely broken world, what you do is the only thing that really defines you. The titles of hero and monster have been stretched so thin that they're practically see-through, and you can see the complicated, messy, and often contradictory person hiding right underneath. And that's really the big question, isn't it? When a society's rules completely shatter, so do its definitions. The lines between hero and monster just dissolve, leaving you with one final critical question to think about.
Welcome to The Explainer. All right, let's talk about One Punch Man, and specifically the one question that drives the entire series. How did Saitama get so unbelievably strong?
So this is the big mystery, right? The one the whole story hangs on. How does a completely normal guy go from zero to, well, basically infinite hero?
Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty, you gotta understand the world we're dealing with here. Civilization is pretty much always on the verge of collapse, thanks to monster attacks, and the only thing standing in their way is the Hero Association. And things are about to get real. We're talking about a full-on war brewing between the organized heroes and a massive, coordinated group of monsters who think they can finally take out humanity's strongest offenders. But where does all this power even come from?
So enter this guy, Dr. Genus. He's this brilliant scientist who gets totally wrecked, and it makes him rethink everything he thought he knew about power. After seeing something that just defied logic, he came up with the theory that there are basically 3 ways to get strong in their world.
First up, you've got what's called monsterification. This one's kind of dark. Basically, a person gets so obsessed or frustrated with something that their own body just gives up and mutates. They don't just get stronger, they become a totally different monstrous creature.
Then there's the science route. This is Dr. Genus's specialty, actually. We're talking about building power. Think cybernetic upgrades, gene splicing, fancy battlesuits. Power that's engineered, not natural.
And finally, you've got path number 3, just being born lucky. Some people are just built different. They have a natural talent, maybe some psychic powers, and all they have to do is train to bring out what was already there.
So there you have it, the 3 official ways to get super strong in this world. You become a monster, you build it, or you're born with it. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Well, then you have Saitama.
Yeah, let's talk about the guy who throws that entire rulebook right out the window.
See, Dr. Genus looks at Saitama, and his whole system just shorts out. This guy doesn't fit into any of the boxes. He's a walking, talking scientific impossibility.
And that's the crazy part. If you look at where Saitama started, there was nothing, and I mean nothing, special about him. He wasn't some secret chosen one. He didn't fall into a vat of radioactive goop. He was just a regular dude.
Saitama, being so normal, forces Dr. Genus to come up with a whole new idea, a fourth path that nobody even knew existed.
He calls it the limiter. Think of it like a governor on an engine. He theorizes that God, or whatever cosmic force, puts a cap on every living thing's potential. It's there to stop us from growing so powerful we literally break ourselves or lose our minds.
It's basically a cosmic safety feature. It's what keeps the universe from tearing itself apart every time someone gets a little too strong. But here's the kicker. Saitama, Mr. Ordinary himself, did something no one thought was possible. Through pure, ridiculous, mind-numbing effort, that simple training routine of his, he didn't just hit his ceiling. He smashed right through it. He broke his limiter, unlocking, well, infinite strength.
Okay, so you've got limitless power. You're unstoppable. Life should be amazing, right? Right?
So, on one hand, you've got this epic, world-ending war about to kick off. The biggest heroes, the scariest monsters, all gearing up for the ultimate showdown. The fate of everyone is on the line.
And on the other hand, you've got the most powerful being in existence, worrying about his lost wallet. And he forgot to buy cabbage for dinner. It's just the perfect, hilarious contrast. The scale of the threat means absolutely nothing to him.
And this is really the heart of it all. Becoming all-powerful wasn't free. Sure, he lost his hair, that's the running gag, but the real cost was so much bigger. He lost the struggle. He lost the challenge. He lost the one thing that made him feel alive. And that's what the story kinda leaves us to chew on, you know? It suggests that maybe the only real limits are the ones we accept. So it makes you wonder, what's your limiter? And what would it take for you to break it?
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going to untangle a really chaotic episode of One Punch Man. You've basically got three completely separate groups on a collision course. First, you have the official heroes with their big grand plan. Then you've got this group of totally oblivious wildcards who have unimaginable power. And finally, there's a lone wolf intruder. They are all heading for the exact same spot, and the crazy part is, none of them have the full picture.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. We'll start with the high-stakes, meticulous planning of the Hero Association. Then we'll jump over to the absolute chaotic comedy happening in Saitama's apartment. And finally, we'll look at the grim reality unfolding deep inside the monster's den. All of this is to see how these three worlds are about to, well, violently intersect.
So, let's start with the top brass. The Hero Association is putting the final touches on what is, without a doubt, its most critical operation to date. They're planning a full-scale assault to rescue a high-value hostage right from the heart of the Monster Association. This is supposed to be a swift, coordinated, professional strike.
And the stakes here? They are incredibly high. See, Wang Ima isn't just any kid. He's the son of a major sponsor, which adds this whole layer of corporate and political pressure. Failure is just not an option. So the heroes are gearing up for this massive assault on an enemy whose size and power are complete unknown.
But as the heroes start to gather, a really serious problem pops up. Their greatest weapon, the S-Class, is dangerously fractured. This is not the united front of legends they desperately need right now. It's an organization that's really starting to show its cracks.
I mean, just look at this table. It shows they're not just short-handed, they're basically crippled. This isn't a few heroes calling in sick. We're talking about key powerhouses who are either in the hospital from previous fights, completely off the grid, or have just straight up refused to participate. The team is severely weakened before the fight even gets started. So, you're facing this overwhelming threat with a depleted roster. You'd think the team leader, who's a child genius by the way, would try to find replacements, right? Nope. He makes a really controversial call. Instead of adding more heroes, he decides to remove even more of them from the lineup. And this is where the institutional paranoia really kicks in. He sidelines two incredibly powerful allies, Genos and Bang, purely because he doesn't trust them. He's so afraid of an internal leak, either from the new guy or the master who has a personal connection to their enemy, that he'd rather go in underpowered than risk betrayal. So the crucial point here is this. The official hero team, the symbol of organized power, is marching into its biggest battle ever, and it's plagued by bureaucracy, suspicion, and a critical lack of manpower. Their plan is already flawed from the get-go.
All right, let's completely shift gears. Because while all this high-stakes, top-secret mission planning is going on, a very different kind of team, a collection of raw, unbelievable individual power, is assembling in Saitama's tiny apartment for Hot Pot.
And this is where the show just brilliantly nails its biting irony. The very people the Hero Association has either excluded, can't find, or doesn't even know about are all in one room. You've got the two heroes who are just benched, Genos and Bang. You have King, the guy the association thinks is their ultimate ace in the hole. And of course, you have Saitama. This is, arguably, the most powerful group on the entire planet, and they're arguing over Napa cabbage.
The whole scene is just pure, oblivious chaos. Fubuki is desperately trying to recruit everyone into her little faction, Bang is asking for child-rearing advice about his rogue student, Garou, and Genos is ready to incinerate anyone who is even mildly rude to his creator, Dr. Kusuno. It's just a hilarious contrast that really highlights how disconnected true power can be from organized institutions.
Okay, let's pivot from all that comedy right back to the objective. Because deep inside the monster headquarters, the grim reality of the situation and the fatal flaw in the hero's intelligence becomes painfully clear.
A monster just cruelly lays out the whole truth to a second captive child, Terrio. The hero's entire multi-million-dollar mission, with all its S-class heroes, is for Waganema. They are so laser-focused on their high-value target that they have no idea this other boy even exists. For Terrio, there's no official rescue on the way.
At the exact same time, the monster's internal communications are just buzzing. Their patrols are disappearing, something is moving through their fortress, but it's not the big, coordinated, all-out assault they were bracing for. No, this is quiet, it's fast, and it's sowing a ton of confusion. Something is very wrong.
And all that confusion leads us to the episode's big mystery. If it's not the Hero Association, then who in the world is single-handedly tearing through the heart of their heavily fortified base? You can just feel the panic starting to ripple through the monster ranks. Entire squads of their scouts are just vanishing. No distress calls, no alarms, not a trace. Whatever is down there with them isn't just strong, it's efficient, and it's absolutely terrifying.
So their first logical assumption is, okay, the heroes must have launched a covert strike ahead of the main invasion. A Black Ops team, maybe. It's really the only thing that makes any kind of sense.
But then, the fragmented reports that finally filter back confirm the unbelievable. All this damage, all the missing patrols, it's not a team. It's the work of a single, unknown intruder.
And that intruder is none other than Garou, the hero hunter. He's not there on some noble mission. He's just cutting a path of destruction for his own reasons. And yet, in a moment of pure chance, he stumbles upon Terrio being tormented and decides to intervene. The villain accidentally becomes the Forgotten Boy's only savior.
And this brings us right to the core theme of this whole thing. You've got the official, well-funded rescue operation focused on one child, who's really a symbol of the system protecting its own interests. And at the same time, you have this other, forgotten child, who finds his only hope not in a hero, but in a rogue individual who operates completely outside of that system. It's a pretty brutal commentary on what true heroism might actually be.
So, here's the big takeaway. The stage is set for an absolutely explosive three-way conflict where nobody, and I mean nobody, has the full picture. The heroes think they're fighting an organized monster army. The monsters are now terrified of some ghost in their own house, and the most powerful beings on the entire planet are just finishing up dinner. It leaves us with one massive question. What in the world is going to happen when these three paths finally and violently cross?
All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going deep into the belly of the beast, the Monster Association's headquarters, to witness a defining moment for one of the most fascinating characters out there, Garou, the hero hunter. And trust me, this isn't just a fight for his life. It's a battle for the very soul of a guy who's trying to become the ultimate monster.
This quote? That's basically Garou's entire mission statement. He wants to become this symbol of absolute evil, a terror so great that it actually forces all of humanity to unite against him. A noble goal in a twisted way. But, as he's about to find out, wanting to be a monster and actually becoming one, well, those are two very different things.
So, let's set the scene. We find Garou deep, and I mean deep in enemy territory. He's badly hurt, he's got a kid he's trying to protect, and he's being hunted down in the monster's own house. Every single corner he turns is a new impossible threat.
And this right here,
This is Garou in a nutshell. Look at what he does. He's literally putting his life on the line to save this kid. But what he says? Total denial. His whole "I'm the bad guy" identity won't let him admit he's doing something good. It's this exact contradiction that makes him so compelling.
You know, even when he's barely standing, Garou is just a blur of martial arts brilliance. A whole squad of demon-level monsters, we're talking city-level threats here, comes at him, and he just takes them apart. And he's not just surviving, he's mocking them, almost testing himself. He's climbing the monster ladder, even while he's fighting for his life.
Let's just stack the odds for a second. You've got an endless flood of monsters. You've got a psychic tracking his every thought. You've got the kid he has to keep safe. And, oh yeah, his own body is screaming at him to just give up. It's a situation that should be completely unwinnable.
But you know, even a genius can get caught off guard. A massive surprise attack from one of the big bosses, Overgrown Rover, just blasts Garou right through the floor. And he's not falling to safety. Nope, he's plummeting deeper, straight into the heart of power of the entire association. So when Garou finally comes to, he's not met with a punch, but with a proposition. The fight suddenly shifts from a physical one to a psychological one. He's about to get an offer that promises him literally everything he's ever wanted, but it's going to cost him the one thing he has left, his own free will.
So who's making the offer? Meet Psychos. She's the real brains behind the whole Monster Association. She's not some brute. She's a manipulator, a scientist. And she's been watching Garou. To her, he's not an enemy to be crushed. He's the perfect subject for her twisted experiments.
So she lays out this chilling deal for him. She's seen his unbreakable spirit, his raw ambition, and she offers him a fast track, a shortcut to becoming the all-powerful monster he's always dreamed of being. No more struggle, just pure, unadulterated power.
Her technique is, well, it's as brilliant as it is terrifying. She's figured out that if you push someone to the absolute brink of death over and over again, their body breaks its natural limits and evolves at an insane rate. She's basically turned making monsters from a freak accident into a science.
And this is the ultimate sales pitch. She dangles the biggest prize imaginable. Her top creation, the Monster King Orochi, is the strongest being they have. But she tells Garou that he, with his potential, could become even stronger than that. He could have the throne.
So what does Garou say to this unbelievable offer of ultimate power? A hard pass, an absolute rejection. See, for Garou, it has to be his journey. He wants to become a monster on his own terms, through his own struggle. He absolutely despises the idea of being raised or helped by someone else. No handouts.
Well, Psychos doesn't take no for an answer. If he won't cooperate, she'll just force him. So the fight is back on, but this time it's a battle of wills. It's her overwhelming psychic power versus his pure, unfiltered stubbornness.
Psychos just unleashes everything she has, pinning Garou down with this crushing, invisible telekinetic force. In her mind, this is it. Checkmate. She's got him completely under her control. Oh, but she has made a huge mistake. She's completely underestimated Garou's single greatest talent, his insane ability to adapt. While she's holding him there, he isn't just fighting back. He's learning. He's analyzing her power from the inside out.
And then he finds it. A flaw in her technique. He realizes she can either hold him perfectly still or she can attack him, but she can't do both at the exact same instant. The moment she attacks, her grip loosens, just for a millisecond. And for a genius like Garou, a millisecond is all the time in the world.
And with that one piece of information, the whole fight flips on its head. He starts effortlessly dodging everything she throws at him, and you can just feel her getting more and more frustrated. He even throws her own arrogant words right back in her face. He's proving that for him, skill and instinct will always be raw power. So Psychos is furious. She's been outsmarted, outmaneuvered. She realizes her own power isn't going to cut it, so it's time to play her trump card. It's time to call in her masterpiece. And just like that, the Monster King Orochi appears. This thing is an absolute nightmare, a being of unbelievable power, the result of all of Psychos' research. This right here, this is the final exam. And what does Garou do when he sees this titan? He doesn't flinch. In fact, he seems almost excited. He is completely 100% certain that his martial arts technique, his pure skill, can beat anything, no matter how big or strong it is.
This insane confidence brings us to the climax of the fight. Garou gets ready to unleash his ultimate technique, the very one that's beaten so many powerful opponents before. But he's about to learn something truly horrifying.
Garou flows into his water stream rock-smashing fist, and the giant Monster King does the exact same thing. A perfect, instantaneous copy of a master-level technique it has seen for the very first time. You can almost feel Garou's brain short-circuit. And then, Orochi drops this one, chilling question that just shatters Garou's entire world. His greatest weapon, the thing that made him special, his genius, has just been stolen and is now being used against him by something way, way more powerful.
So for the very first time, Garou is facing an enemy he can't outskill. He's literally fighting a mirror of himself, a mirror that's bigger, stronger, and learns just as fast as he does. And that leaves us with the ultimate question. How do you win a fight against yourself? What's genius worth when you're not the only genius in the room?
In the massive war against the Monster Association, the most dangerous battle wasn't actually against the monsters. Nope, it was fought between the heroes themselves. So today, let's break down the explosive conflict that almost tore the Hero Association apart from the inside. Okay, so imagine this. The Hero Association gathers all of its elite S-class heroes for what is basically a suicide mission. But the biggest threat they're about to face, it isn't some giant monster. It's the person standing right next to them. Before all the drama kicked off, the heroes were supposed to be fighting monsters. And the threat they were up against, well, it was on a scale they had never, ever seen before. Get this. Satellite Recon picked up over 500 monster heat signatures at the enemy HQ. That's more than 60 monsters for every single hero on the team, and that's just the small fry. The sheer scale of this is absolutely staggering. So, the official plan? It sounds simple, right? Get in, rescue the hostage, and get out. But simple is the last word I'd use here. They know they're facing multiple dragon-level threats. We're talking about the highest disaster level there is, monsters that can wipe out entire cities. And to make things even worse, one of their own, the S-class hero Drive Knight, went in to scout and has just completely vanished. Now, with a literal army of monsters waiting for them, you'd think the heroes would be, united. You would be wrong. The real battle begins right there in the briefing room, where the egos are bigger than any monster they're about to face. And here's the first crack in the foundation. It comes from Tatsumaki, the most powerful psychic on the entire planet. Her power is so absolute that she has never needed to rely on anyone, ever. To her, teamwork isn't just unnecessary, it's an insult to her own strength. As far as she's concerned, there is no team. There's just her and a bunch of people to clear out the riffraff. And this is really the heart of the problem. On one side, you have heroes like Child Emperor and Atomic Samurai who want a careful, strategic attack. On the other side, you have Tatsumaki, who just wants to level the entire city block. When Atomic Samurai calls her out on it, the whole room is ready to just explode. Just when you think the tension can't get any thicker, All My Mask strolls in. He's the #1 A-class hero, basically the gatekeeper to the S-class, and he is furious that he was left out of this little strategy session. See, they left him out on purpose. His ego is a massive liability. He's got this obsessive, almost fanatical idea of beautiful justice that makes him dangerously unpredictable. But while the other heroes are trying to calm him down, Tatsumaki does what she does best. She just drops the cold, hard truth on him, and the entire situation just completely unravels. And here it is, the ultimate power play. Insulted, enraged, My Mask doesn't just ask to join the team, he demands to lead it. He actually declares that all the S-class heroes, some of the most powerful people on Earth, should all be taking orders from him. It is an absolutely audacious, unbelievable demand. At this point, the mission is completely dead in the water. Flashy Flash is ready to draw his sword on All My Mask, Tatsumaki looks ready to fight literally anyone, and this whole rescue operation is just seconds away from becoming an all-out hero brawl. Just as these heroes are about to tear each other limb from limb, the entire conflict is stopped by the most unlikely person you could possibly imagine. He's not the strongest hero in the room. He's not the smartest. In fact, he's a total fraud. This is just pure, beautiful chaos. King, the man rumored to be the strongest on Earth, shows up late looking like he just crawled out of a dumpster. His handlers, in a total panic, invent this story that he's been single-handedly fighting monsters all night long. And the heroes? They buy it completely. That loud thumping they hear isn't him powering up. It's the legendary King engine, the sound of his heart pounding in absolute terror. And just like that, the tension breaks. The heroes are so completely awestruck by what they think is King's silent, incredible dedication that their own arguments suddenly seem so petty. Even the incredibly prideful Atomic Samurai agrees to stand down out of respect. A complete misunderstanding just brought about a ceasefire. So the infighting might have paused, but these heroes are far from united. Underneath this incredibly fragile truce, several secret factions are already moving ahead with their own private agendas. This chart tells you everything you need to know. We don't have one unified team here. We have the official team plus 2 secret teams operating with their own completely different goals. This isn't just disunity, it is a recipe for absolute disaster. 3 uncoordinated forces on the same battlefield? That means crossed wires, friendly fire, and gaping holes in their strategy that the monsters can and will exploit. Silver Fang, one of the most respected heroes in the entire association, straight up lies to the mission commander. His real priority isn't the hostage. It's finding and stopping his former student, the hero hunter Garou. He's running a personal mission under the cover of the official one. And then there's Fubuki, Tatsumaki's younger sister. She was explicitly told to stay out of this fight, a rejection she takes very personally. So for her, this isn't about saving the world. It's about getting revenge and proving her own worth, especially to her older sister. She's mobilizing her own faction for a personal vendetta. And let's not forget the individuals. Genos, the demon cyborg, is a one-man wildcard. He's just been given a dangerously unstable upgrade. It gives him an unbelievable amount of power, but only for 10 seconds. Any longer, and he could literally self-destruct. This isn't the equipment of a team player. It's the last resort of someone who's planning to go all in, all by himself. So, with a fake truce, a handful of secret agendas, and at least one hero who is a literal ticking time bomb, this fractured army begins its assault. There is no turning back now. They finally reach the abandoned ruins of Z City, right on top of the monster base. The air is thick with tension. The separate teams get ready to enter from their different routes, and this fragile alliance is about to be tested against an enemy that is anything but fractured. And what's waiting for them when they get there? Not fear, disappointment. A monster executive greets them, and he's not just ready for them, he is completely unimpressed. And here's the final, brutal twist. The 2 people the heroes are banking on, they're gone. Saitama, the one person who could end this whole thing instantly, has no idea this mission is even happening. And King, the man whose reputation just stopped a civil war, well, he used the chaos to slip away and hide. The heroes have all this overwhelming individual power, for sure, but they are an army at war with itself. The monsters, on the other hand, are a single, unified force. And that raises the ultimate question. In a battle this massive, what really matters more? The strength of the individual soldiers or the strength of the army?
All right, let's dive into one of the most insane moments in all of One Punch Man. We're talking about the S-Class heroes, the absolute full force of the Hero Association launching a head-on assault against the Monster Association's HQ. This is the big one, folks.
But right out of the gate, the monsters are, well, they're not impressed at all. Their commander, Gyoro, is basically looking down at the strongest people on the planet and laughing. They've been waiting for this fight, and in their minds, the heroes have just made a huge, huge mistake.
So the heroes charge in, feeling pretty good about themselves. But the plan goes sideways almost immediately. I mean, they haven't even gotten through the front door before the whole thing blows up in their faces. And that really is the question, isn't it? You take the best of the best, the planet's last hope, and you walk them right into a perfectly planned ambush. So what happens next? Well, what happens is they get completely, totally swamped. Child Emperor sensors just start going crazy, picking up over 150 heat signatures popping up all around them. They are surrounded, and believe me, that number is only going up. And this is where you get that classic S-Class personality clash right away. You've got Child Emperor, the super genius, doing the smart thing, calling out the numbers, trying to get a handle on the situation. And then you have Tatsumaki, who literally just rolls her eyes and calls the entire monster army toys.
It's just a perfect little moment that shows you exactly who they are. But here's the thing you have to remember. Even in an ambush, this is still the S-Class we're talking about. So the monster's little trap, it very quickly turns into a fireworks show of pure, unfiltered power.
Tatsumaki is, of course, leading the way. She throws up this massive psychic barrier that protects the other heroes like it's nothing. But because she's Tatsumaki, she does it while complaining about how useless they all are for needing her help. It's her special mix of incredible power and just a terrible attitude.
And what happens next is just a beautiful mess. It's this incredible symphony of destruction. You've got Atomic Samurai's crew cutting a path. You've got Flashy Flash moving so fast he's basically invisible. Super Alloy Blackluster is just standing there letting monsters break their hands on his abs. And Zombie Man? Well, Zombie Man just won't die. Every single hero is a one-man army.
And hey, let's give a shout out to the A-Class heroes who are there too. They're fighting their hearts out, and these guys are normally the top dogs. But seeing them here just puts into perspective how completely and utterly on another level the S-Class heroes truly are.
But in the middle of all this chaos, all this noise, one person starts to stand out from the crowd. The whole vibe of the fight is about to change, and it's all because of this one guy.
It's Garou, the hero hunter. See, he's stuck right in the middle of this brawl, but he's not acting like the other monsters. He's not just mindlessly attacking. He's watching. He's thinking.
Actually, he's doing something really, really weird. In the middle of this absolute war zone, he's literally grading the heroes' attacks as they hit him. It's like, okay, 25 points for that punch, 30 points for that throw. Ooh, 69 points for that sword slash. What on earth is he doing?
He tells us himself. This isn't just a fight for him. He's evolving. Every hit he takes, every technique he sees, it's making him stronger. Right there, in real time. It's terrifying.
And it's not just him saying it. The Monster Association's leadership confirms it. Garou has just leveled up, mid-battle. He is now officially threat level Oni, and, just so we're clear, that means he's strong enough to potentially wipe an entire city off the map.
This is the moment it sinks in for the heroes. Atomic Samurai's best students, guys who can slice through just about anything, swing their swords at Garou, and their blades just bounce right off. They can't even scratch him anymore. He's just become that tough.
So the first wave of monsters is gone. The heroes managed to break through the front line, but nobody's really celebrating. There's this weird feeling in the air. Something's not right.
I mean, on paper, it looks like a win, right? The cannon fodder has been cleared out, the path forward is open, and the S-Class is ready to push deeper. Phase 1 seems like a success.
But the smart ones, the strategists, they can't shake this one question. Why was that so easy? Why would the Monster Association just throw hundreds of monsters away in a messy, disorganized attack that had no chance of working? It just doesn't add up.
And that's when the horrible truth starts to dawn on them. The monsters weren't trying to win. What looked like a chaotic ambush was actually a planned sacrifice. They weren't trying to stop the heroes at all. They were just trying to get them to show off. It was a massive data gathering mission to see what every single hero could do.
And that's the real kicker. This whole insane, brutal life-or-death struggle, it was just the entrance exam. The heroes passed, but in doing so, they showed the monsters every single one of their moves. And now, the Monster Association knows exactly who they're up against. The real fight is only just beginning.
All right, let's dive right in. We're heading deep inside the Monster Association's headquarters, where a massive mission is going down. And today, we're going to break down how two of the S-Class's finest tackle the exact same problem, but with completely opposite styles.
So here's the big question, right? How do you take down an entire army of monsters when you're deep inside their fortress? Do you go in all brute force and power? Or is it all about careful, meticulous strategy? Well, as we're about to see, the answer? It's not so black and white.
So in one corner, we've got Flashy Flash, the Blade. His plan is pretty simple. Be so fast that nothing can touch him and just annihilate every single thread. And in the other corner, Child Emperor, the Brain. His approach is all about that surgical strike, a meticulous strategy to get the hostage out. You've got the sword versus the scalpel. Let's see how this plays out.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about Flash. Right out of the gate, he walks into what looks like a perfect trap. I mean, it's a 2-on-1 ambush, and it seems like it was tailor-made just for him. I mean, the second he steps foot in there, bam, the trap is sprung. He's cornered.
And not by just anyone. These are other ninjas who know his every move. They've literally designed this hallway to shut down his biggest advantage, his insane speed. You look at this and you think there's no way he's getting out of this.
And get this, these aren't just some run-of-the-mill monsters. No. This is Galewind and Hellfire Flame, absolute elites from the Golden 37th term. Supposedly the strongest class in ninja history. They're from the same village as Flash. So this is more than a fight. It's a showdown. The so-called greatest generation against this lone wolf from a later class. And you better believe they think their new monster powers give them the edge.
And yeah, it turns out they were hired guns brought in just for this. But here's the thing. They're not the first ones to try and take him out. Not even close. Flash just calmly rattles off this laundry list of legendary assassins and entire organizations that he's completely dismantled, all by himself. See, he's been a target his whole life, and so far, every single person who's come after him has ended up on a list just like this one.
So the ninjas are feeling pretty good about themselves. They think they've got him, that he's on the ropes. And then, boom, the entire script gets flipped. Flash drops the bombshell. Did you really think that was my top speed? He wasn't struggling. He wasn't even trying. He was just sizing them up, analyzing their moves, waiting. He was never trapped in there with them. Oh no, they were trapped in there with him.
You see, Flash's counter trap was already in play. Step 1, he faked being weak to get them to show their full monster power. Step 2, he let them chase him into this bigger, more open space. And step 3, he exploited their inexperience. He knew they wouldn't be able to control that new top speed of theirs in a wide open area. He was playing chess while they were playing checkers.
And once he has them right where he wants them, it's over. Just like that. He unleashes his ultimate technique, the flashy slash. It's so fast, he hits them both at the exact same moment. The fight was won before it even really started.
And his reasoning here is, well, it's cold, but you can't argue with it. He wasn't just trying to win the fight, he was eliminating a future threat that only he could deal with. He says his best option was to finish them both at the same time, because he doubted any other S-class hero could handle their speed. That's what it means to be the Blade.
All right, so, while all that high-octane ninja action was happening, let's switch gears and check in with Child Emperor. He's tackling the same infiltration, but his approach is a lot more cerebral. Forget flashing moves. This is all about pure, calculated strategy.
So instead of just charging forward, what does he do? He finds a destroyed friendly robot. Now most people would see that as a failure, a dead end. But Child Emperor, he sees an opportunity. He gets to work analyzing the remains, pulls the data from its memory banks, and what do you know? A complete map, a pre-planned route leading right to the hostage. He literally turned a setback into a shortcut.
And this, right here, is why he's so dangerous. The kid never ever goes in unprepared. That little backpack of his is basically a walking arsenal. He's got transmitters, invisible trap film, oil canisters, a remote control tank, you name it. He has a tool for pretty much any situation you can think of. For him, preparation is the superpower.
Naturally, it doesn't take long for him to run into a baddie. This one's called Phoenix Man. And like so many villains, Phoenix Man just can't help himself. His biggest weakness? His own ego. He starts this whole big monologue about being a mid-level manager with ambitions to take over. And while he's busy talking, Child Emperor gets his opening.
So while Phoenix Man is yapping away, Child Emperor is quietly setting up a little surprise. He rolls out this thing called an invisible wall. It's just a thin, clear film, but it's incredibly tough against sudden impacts. So when Phoenix Man finally makes his big move and lunges, wham! He just slams face first into it, completely stopped in his tracks. So simple, but so effective.
And this part is absolutely key. What does Child Emperor do next? He leaves. He doesn't stick around for a big fight. He trapped the guy, and now he's back on the mission. See, his goal isn't to beat up every monster in the building. His goal is to secure the hostage. That is laser focus right there.
So, there you have it. Two heroes, two completely different ways of getting the job done. Let's kind of put them side by side and really look at how these two very different philosophies both ended up working.
Okay, so look at Flashy Flash. His method is all about decisive elimination. His core belief, your training was insufficient. The result, 2 dragon-level threats are just gone, permanently. Then you have Child Emperor. His method is objective-focused strategy. His philosophy is all about clearing the small goals to get to the big one. And the result, the hostage is located and the path is clear for extraction. 2 different methods, both got the job done.
So what's the big takeaway here? How do we sum this all up? Well, it really boils down to that classic question, doesn't it? Brawn versus brains.
What this really shows us is that elite power comes in more than one package. There isn't just one right way to be a hero. On one hand, you have the absolute peak of physical perfection in Flashy Flash. On the other, you have the peak of intellectual preparation with Child Emperor. One is an unstoppable weapon, the other is an unbreakable plan. And you absolutely need both.
And that leaves us with one final thought, one last question for you. In a world full of monsters, what do you think is more valuable? Ultimate power or ultimate preparation? Is it the hero who can smash through any wall or the one who finds the door that was unlocked the whole time? Something to think about.
Welcome back to The Explainer. In the world of One Punch Man, we pretty much expect just that. One punch. But today, we're diving into a battle that wasn't about raw power at all. No, this was a battle of wits, where a giant robot was just a smokescreen, and the real ultimate weapon, you're not going to believe this, was a tickle machine.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this whole thing down. First, we'll cover the mission and the monster. Then we'll get into the Phoenix's fiery rebirth. After that, it's genius versus evolution. Then we get to the really good part, the ultimate secret weapon. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with a look at a hero's humility.
Okay, let's set the stage. How did this whole thing even kick off? Well, you might think it started with some big, epic challenge, but nope. It all began with a simple mission, a very clear strategic goal from our boy genius, Child Emperor. In this one quote, it tells you everything you need to know about him. See, he's not just some powerhouse kid looking for a brawl. He's a tactician first, a strategist. It's not about the glory of the fight, it's about getting the job done. And honestly, that mindset, that is the key to this entire battle.
Okay, so let's get a look at our fighters. In this corner, you've got Child Emperor. Don't let the age fool you. He's S-Class rank 5 for a reason. And that reason is pure brain power and some seriously incredible tech. And in the other corner, Phoenix Man, an executive in the Monster Association and, well, a guy in a bird suit. But as we're about to find out, that suit is way, way more important than it looks.
So where did this bird costume even come from? It's actually pretty wild. It's not just a random getup. It's from a kids' TV show mascot called Dorkenbird. And the whole running gag with this character was that he would die in every episode and just pop right back up, totally fine. That right there, that's not just a funny detail. It's major, major foreshadowing for the absolute nightmare that Child Emperor is about to walk into.
And that brings us right to the first big twist in this fight. Child Emperor thinks he's got this in the bag, an easy win, but things are about to unravel, fast. And what comes next is a whole new level of terrifying. So Child Emperor takes him down. Fight over, right? Wrong. Phoenix Man doesn't just get back up. He comes back with this chilling line. Think about that. For him, almost dying isn't a weakness. It's a feature. It's literally how he levels up.
And you can see just how insane this power creep is. He starts as this goofy guy in a Dorkenbird costume, then he's Phoenix Man. Then he gets defeated and comes back as resurrected Phoenix Man, and then he hits Phoenix brilliant eagle mode. Each one of these jumps is a massive power boost, and it's all happening in just a few minutes. It's ridiculous.
You can just imagine what's going through Child Emperor's head right now. His whole plan is in shambles. This enemy he thought he understood is now something else entirely. The panic is setting in. He's got to pull out the big guns, something he absolutely did not want to have to use.
So this is where the fight completely transforms. It's not just a kid hero against a monster anymore. Oh no, this is a clash of ideas. It's genius versus evolution. It's the best of human technology going head-to-head with the unstoppable chaotic force of a monster that just keeps getting stronger.
So he does it. He summons his trump card, the giant mech, Brave Giant. It's incredible, but there's a catch, and it's a big one. He's only got 3 minutes. 3! That's it! A ticking clock just got dropped into the middle of this impossible fight. The pressure is on.
And when you look at them side by side, you see the fundamental problem, right? Brave Giant has all this incredible firepower, missiles, drills, shields, but it's all finite. There's a limit. Phoenix Man, his trump card is literally limitless evolution. It's an impossible situation. Every powerful hit Child Emperor lands is just feeding the beast, making him even stronger. What do you even do?
And in the middle of all this epic giant robot fighting, Phoenix Man starts yelling these really weird taunts. He says, "You can't become a first-class suit actor like that." And at first you're like, what is he even talking about? But it's a huge clue.
He doesn't just wear the suit. In his mind, he is the suit actor. His entire identity is wrapped up in this bizarre performance. It sounds crazy, but spoiler alert, that's the key to everything.
Okay, so here we are at the breaking point. The 3-minute timer is almost at 0. Brave Giant's ultimate attack has failed. Brute force has failed. It's over. Overwhelming power is just not going to cut it. He needs a new plan, and he needs it now.
So here's the ultimate puzzle, right? How do you possibly beat something that only gets stronger every time you attack it? Your biggest weapon is useless. Time is up. Your enemy is at their peak. What do you do? I mean, seriously, what's the answer?
Well, the answer is Ticklebot number 1. I'm not kidding, this is it. It's one of the most brilliant and, let's be honest, hilarious plot twists in the entire series. He doesn't go for a bigger bomb or a more powerful laser. He goes for a tiny little robot designed to tickle.
And this is where you see why he's an S-class hero. It's not the robot, it's the brain. He figured it out. I can't beat the monster, but maybe I can beat the man inside. The whole Brave Giant fight was just a distraction, a massive, flashy diversion to get Phoenix Man's open a tiny gap in his suit just long enough to slip the Ticklebot in. He didn't attack the monster's power. He attacked the human sensitivity, and it worked. He literally made Phoenix Man so uncomfortable that he tore off his own power source. He tricked him into defeating himself. Genius!
So the fight is won. But the story is not quite over. Because what happens next isn't about the battle. It's about the hero. It's about what he learned.
The kid he rescued gives him a little bit of a hard time for struggling. And how does Child Emperor react? Does he get all proud and defensive? Nope. He just says, "You're right. I panicked because the enemy was stronger than I expected." Just like that. In his moment of triumph, he completely owns his fear and his mistakes. That's a level of maturity you just don't expect.
So you see, this whole battle wasn't really about a giant robot fighting a bird monster. It was a lesson. It teaches us that your biggest weapon isn't always your best one, that to really win, you have to understand how your enemy thinks. And maybe, most importantly, that real strength isn't just about power. It's about being strong enough to admit when you're weak, when you messed up.
And that's what this whole incredible fight leaves us with, this one big question to chew on. What is true strength? Is it Phoenix Man's limitless power, the ability to evolve forever? Or is it Child Emperor's kind of strength, the intelligence, the humility, the cleverness to win an impossible fight with a tickle?
Okay, so picture this. Deep, deep beneath City Z, there's an all-out war happening. Humanity's best hope, the S-class heroes, have stormed the underground fortress of the Monster Association. The plan was simple. Get in, get the job done, and get out. But, well, this labyrinth has other ideas. All right, so to wrap our heads around all this chaos, we're going to break it down. We're going to look at 5 key fights happening all at the same time. And trust me, each one is a totally different test of what it means to be a hero. So the heroes had this big plan, right? Let's divide and conquer. Well, guess what? It's completely backfired. Big time. Now they're the ones split up, lost in these winding tunnels, and facing a non-stop parade of monsters. Yeah, this was supposed to be a clean in-and-out mission, but now it's just a desperate, brutal brawl for every single inch of ground. The main mission's kinda gone out the window, now it's all about just making it out alive. And that sets the stage for some incredible one-on-one showdowns. All right, first up, we've got a matchup that isn't about flashy moves or crazy power levels. Nope. This one is all about pure, raw, unrelenting endurance. So in one corner, you've got the S-class hero Zombie Man. And his superpower? It's literally that he just can't die. And in the other corner, a monster named Pureblood, a vampire who gets stronger every time he drinks blood. The only problem is, in a straight-up fight, Zombie Man is completely outclassed. And at first it looks absolutely hopeless. I mean, Zombie Man is getting torn to shreds over and over again. It's so bad that even other monsters are just standing around laughing at him. They're like, is this guy really S-class? He's pathetic. But here's where it gets crazy. It all comes down to this one number, 200. You want to know what that is? That's how many times Zombie Man died and came back to life. In just 30 minutes. Every single time Pureblood thought he'd won, Zombie Man just got right back up. This wasn't a fight. It was a test of who would break first. See, that's the genius of it. Zombie Man was never trying to win a fistfight. He was playing the long game. His whole strategy was to use his own immortality as a weapon. He just let the vampire punch himself out, literally, until he had absolutely nothing left. This was a victory of pure stubbornness over pure power. Okay, so while Zombie Man was fighting a physical war, another hero, On My Mask, was stuck in a psychological one. This next monster, she doesn't just attack your body. She gets inside your head and twists what it even means to be a hero.
I mean, what do you do in this situation? That's the nightmare On My Mask is walking into. He's up against the monster Do S, and she's already used her hypnotic whip to brainwash an entire squad of heroes. Now he's got to fight his own comrades.
And of course, Dosh plays the classic villain card. She gives him this slimy offer. Hey, handsome, join me, and maybe, just maybe, I'll let your little hero friends go. It's the kind of choice that's designed to break a hero's will, to make them hesitate. But On My Mask, he doesn't even blink. His response is just ice cold. There was no hesitation, no moral debate, just pure, unfiltered disgust. And this just perfectly sums up his entire terrifying philosophy. While Zombie Man won through patience, On My Mask believes evil needs to be wiped out, instantly, no matter who gets caught in the crossfire. For him, justice isn't complicated. It's a swift, violent end. So we've seen individual endurance, and individual, well, brutality. Now let's switch gears and talk about teamwork. Because this next fight isn't about one hero. It's about 3, Atomic Samurai's disciples facing something none of them could possibly beat alone. So get this. Their enemy is a monster who attacks with its hair. And we're not talking a little bit of hair. We're talking over 100,000 strands, each one acting like a tiny, deadly spear. They're too fast to track, too thin to block. I mean, how do you even begin to fight that? You'd think they'd panic, right? But no. On the fly, under all that pressure, they figure it out. Blocking is useless. They have to do something completely different. So they start working together, timing every single sword swing to be in perfect sync. And their solution is just genius. They all slash at the exact same time, creating this massive blade of wind, like a giant invisible sword that just shreds all 100,000 hairs in one go. It's a perfect example of how smarts and teamwork can beat pure, overwhelming numbers. And speaking of swordsmen, that brings us to the master himself, Atomic Samurai. Right after his students have this epic, hard-fought battle, he just strolls in and effortlessly annihilates a whole squad of monsters with one single swing. Doesn't even break a sweat.
Yeah, looks like just another Tuesday for one of the greatest swordsmen on the planet. But then, as the dust settles, a new challenger appears. A combat robot called G5.
And this is where it gets really, really creepy. The robot doesn't just want to fight. It's been watching, it's been learning, and then it drops this bombshell. It has perfectly copied Atomic Samurai's entire fighting style. Every move, every technique, down to the tiniest detail. I mean, can you imagine? For a master who spent his whole life perfecting his art, this is the ultimate nightmare. The robot isn't just his equal, it's better. It can do all his moves, but faster, and because it's a machine, it can bend and twist in ways a human body just can't, creating this upgraded, impossible version of his own style.
And that's really the theme that connects all these insane battles, isn't it? From a monster you literally can't kill, to one that turns your friends against you, to an army of one that takes perfect teamwork to beat, and now, a machine that can steal your skills and do them better than you. The monsters are evolving. Which leaves us with a terrifying question. Against threats like these, can any single hero, no matter how strong, ever be enough?
You know, in the Monster Association arc of One Punch Man, things get absolutely brutal. And for the villains, it's not just about winning. Oh no, they are out to completely break the spirit of the S-Class heroes. They basically set up this gauntlet of, well, unwinnable fights. Each one is like a strategic nightmare specifically designed for a particular hero. So today, we're going to dive deep and break down exactly how these perfect counters push our favorite heroes to their absolute breaking limits.
All right, so here's the plan.
We're kicking things off with a rescue mission that spirals into a whole new crisis. Then, we're going to see how 3 of our S-class heavy hitters, the swordsman versus an infinite enemy, the immortal guy versus a so-called god, and Puri Puri Prisoner's unique angel style, get thrown into fights that are basically their worst nightmares. And to cap it all off, we'll get to the unstoppable onslaught, where the villains reveal a trump card that is just terrifying.
All right, so let's get into it. Our story kicks off with what seems like a huge win, right? Child Emperor, the boy genius himself, has just pulled off this incredible rescue. He snatched the hostage Waganma from deep inside the Monster Association's base. For a split second, you think, wow, they did it. They actually pulled it off.
But then, that feeling of victory, it just vanishes, gone. Because during the debrief, the kid he rescued drops a bombshell. There was another child captured. And just like that, a successful mission turns into an absolute failure. What was supposed to be a clean win becomes a total moral catastrophe.
And even though he's totally exhausted and has been ordered to stand down, all of that weight, all that failure, it lands right on Child Emperor's shoulders. He knows the other S-Class guys are strong, sure, but they're not exactly team players. This quote right here says it all. I have to go back and support everyone. They don't know how to cooperate. You can just feel that sense of responsibility as he decides, screw the orders, I'm going back in. And he does it completely alone. Okay, so that brings us to our first S-Class nightmare. We're talking about Atomic Samurai. Now, this is a guy whose whole deal, his entire philosophy, is that one single, perfect, impossibly fast sword strike can fix anything. Well, he's about to run into a problem that can't be fixed by cutting it.
And this is what's so brilliant about this matchup. It's not just a physical fight. It's a battle of ideas, right? You've got Atomic Samurai, the master of the single perfect cut, against Black Sperm, an enemy that's basically infinite. The villains have engineered the perfect counter. His greatest strength, his ability to slice anything into a million pieces, is about to become his biggest weakness. It's an absolute nightmare scenario for him.
And his first reaction is just pure arrogance, isn't it? He's like, I've cut down dozens of freaks like you. I'm used to it. I mean, you can't blame him entirely. He's an S-Class hero, one of the strongest people on the planet. He thinks he's seen it all, and this is just another monster of the week. He has no idea what he's up against.
And then, reality hits him like a truck. He unleashes his signature move, the Atomic Slash, and just dices the monster into what should be confetti. But then the horror sets in. Every single one of those tiny pieces springs back to life, a new enemy. His ultimate attack, the thing that's supposed to end any fight, doesn't just fail to work, it makes the problem infinitely worse. He literally multiplies his enemy, burying himself under a sea of monsters he created.
All right, next up, we're shifting gears. We're going from a fight about speed to a fight about endurance and belief. We've got Zombie Man, the hero who literally cannot die, going up against Homeless Emperor, a dude who's throwing around some kind of divine power. And trust me, it's the source of that power that makes this whole thing so creepy.
So, imagine this. Zombie Man is just Swiss cheese at this point, riddled with holes, and he asks this guy, what's your deal? And the answer he gets is just chilling. Homeless Emperor just calmly says, a god appeared before me. He's not a mutant, he's not using some fancy tech, he claims his power is a gift from God.
And see, here's the thing. He wasn't always this monster. He was just a regular guy. Lost his job, lost his home, lost everything. And at his absolute rock bottom, when he had nothing left, he has this moment of enlightenment. He realizes how corrupt humanity is. And right then, this powerful being just appears, and it chooses him to be its champion.
So he's not just some bad guy who wants to cause chaos. No, he's a true believer, a zealot. He's on a divine mission. In his head, he's basically the planet's immune system. And humanity, we're the virus. And he's been given the power to wipe us out for the good of Mother Earth. And Zombie Man's response through all this is just, it's perfect. He's literally pulling himself back together after being blown to bits, and he hits him with this line, how do you know it was a god? Did it show you a certificate? It's so Zombie Man, just pure, undiluted cynicism. And it perfectly sets up their whole conflict, right? The absolute true believer versus the guy who just will not die and doesn't buy any of it.
Okay, so if you thought a fight against God was strange, you might want to buckle up. Because now we're talking about Puri Puri Prisoner, the S-Class hero whose power is maybe only matched by his incredible flamboyance. And he is about to have a really, really bad day that's going to trigger a bizarre evolution, to put it mildly.
So first, you gotta get your head around his fighting style, which is
unique. He doesn't block. He doesn't dodge. No, he gives the attacks an angel hug. He literally embraces the pain. He has this whole philosophy that if you accept all the damage with deep love, you can just endure it. Yeah, it's a theory. And it's about to be tested like never before.
This is where it gets super personal for him, because the monsters he's fighting, they're his former prison inmates, his ex-boyfriends, now twisted into these horrible creatures. So he's not just taking a physical beating, he's dealing with the emotional pain of being betrayed. And that combination, that agony, it triggers something inside him. His body just starts to change.
And the result is, frankly, it's wild. His body literally starts sprouting these thick bristles for defense. He calls it his angel bristle armor. And he's just inventing new powers on the spot. He's got Vibration Angel, Angel Hug, even something called Angel Crawl where he swims through solid ground. He's weaponizing his own suffering and turning himself into this grotesque but kind of powerful new form. It's insane.
So while all of our heroes are trapped in these personal, tailor-made hells, the bigger picture for the entire raid is getting so much worse. Because it turns out the monster executives have been hiding a trump card. A really, really horrifying one.
Just when you think things can't get crazier, some of the weaker monsters try to run for it. But then, one of the executives, this monster called Gums, just eats them, devours his own allies whole, and that's when we realize their final strategy. They can consume their own teammates to absorb their powers. They're literally building a super monster in the middle of the fight.
And this quote from Gums makes it even more terrifying. The power-up isn't even permanent. They're on a timer. He says they can use the powers until they're digested, which is more than enough time to slaughter all of the heroes. So now it's a frantic race against the clock, and the monsters are trying to wipe everyone out before their stolen powers fade. So let's just recap how bad things are. We're down to just 4 key S-Class heroes holding the line. You've got Child Emperor heading back in all by himself. And then you have Atomic Samurai, Zombie Man, and Puri Puri Prisoner. Each one isolated and trapped in a fight designed to break them. They're all on the verge of defeat.
Which really just leaves us with one big, hanging question, doesn't it? The heroes are stuck in their worst possible matchups. The villains are literally getting stronger every second by eating their own side. So, in a fight like this, a war of attrition against an enemy that just keeps growing, how can anyone possibly win? What does victory even look like at this point?
All right, let's get into it. Today, we're going to tear apart one of the biggest, messiest, and honestly most amazing battles in all of manga, the S-Class hero raid on the Monster Association from One Punch Man. I mean, this thing is a masterclass in juggling a dozen different stories at once, and we're going to untangle every last bit of it.
So, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with how the heroes got in, then we're going to jump between these 3 insane, high-level fights that are all happening at the same time, and then we'll get to that hilariously underwhelming finale.
Okay, so the mission is a go. You've got Earth's strongest heroes storming this massive underground monster fortress. They've got a plan, it seems solid, and you know what? For about 5 glorious seconds, it actually works.
Now the strategy sounds simple, right? Get in, split up, cover more ground, find the kid. But when you cram this many powerful, kind of weird personalities into one tight space, simple just flies right out the window, immediately.
And this, right here, this is just perfect. It tells you everything you need to know about King. The public thinks he's the strongest man alive, but really, he's just a normal dude who's way, way too good at faking it. One little miscommunication, and boom, he's all by himself deep in enemy territory, and his terror pretty much sets the tone for this whole chaotic ride.
All right, while King's having a silent panic attack, let's jump to our first real showdown. This is the big one, the ridiculously jacked hero Super Alloy Blackluster versus the monster exec Bug God.
You know, what's so wild about this fight is why it's happening. Blackluster is obsessed, and I mean obsessed, with having the perfect body. He truly believed that a monster based on the power of an insect would be his ultimate physical challenge. But instead, he was just so disappointed.
So for Blackluster, this isn't even about good versus evil. No. This is about aesthetics. It's about respecting the gains. And in his expert opinion, Bug God, this so-called ultimate bug monster, just isn't shiny enough. What a letdown.
So after he just mops the floor with Bug God, Blackluster gives the other monsters a little pro tip.
He lays out the pecking order on the hero team, and basically, as you can see, these are the 3 people you do not want to mess with, ever.
So while one guy is having an existential crisis about muscle definition, a way bigger fight is going down on a whole different level. We're talking about a psychic showdown between 2 of the most powerful espers alive.
You've got the monster psychic Giro, who at this point we all think is the big boss, and she is throwing everything she has at the hero Tatsumaki. She unleashes her ultimate move, a gravity attack that's 300 times normal, fully expecting to just, turn Tatsumaki into a little puddle.
And Tatsumaki's response? It's just legendary. It shows you the absolutely terrifying difference in their power. She doesn't just block it, she literally treats his ultimate attack like a nice shoulder massage. It's maybe the most savage power flex in the entire story.
Okay, so Gyoro is completely, totally beaten. She knows it. So she plays her only card left, and she drops a bombshell on us. She's not the real leader. She's just the strategist. Panicking, she starts screaming for help from the real Monster King.
So, you're probably wondering, right? With all these S-class heroes fighting for their lives, where on earth is our main character, Saitama? Well, he's not in some epic fight. He's kind of just wandering around the base, completely lost.
Yeah, Saitama's idea of infiltrating is just him following a loud noise he heard from his apartment. And along the way, he just bumps into these super powerful monsters. Monsters that would be a huge problem for other heroes. And he just casually takes them out without a second thought. He has no idea there's a war going on.
And wouldn't you know it, this completely random, aimless journey leads him, by sheer dumb luck, right into the heart of the base. And he comes face to face with the one guy Joro was screaming for, the ultimate being, Monster King Orochi.
So Orochi sees this, plain-looking bald dude, and he immediately thinks, aha, destiny has brought me my final sacrifice. And he launches into the classic villain monologue, you know the one, all about his tragic backstory, how powerful he is, and how he's gonna become a god.
And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. The epic, fated, earth-shattering final battle. This is it. The whole raid has been building to this.
But Saitama's reaction? It's not fear. It's not excitement. It is just pure, soul-crushing boredom. He literally cuts the Monster King off mid-sentence. He could not care less about his life story because, he's heard it all before.
And this right here, this is the core of who Saitama is. This is his whole tragedy. He's heard this exact same speech from 1,000 other guys who called themselves the ultimate being. To him, it's just a boring old story, and he already knows exactly how it's going to end.
And so, what does he do? He just throws a punch. Just one. A normal one.
And just like that, the Monster King Orochi, the final boss, the ultimate bad guy, the dude whose army has all the world's best heroes fighting for their lives, is just gone, wiped out by a single, casual, normal punch. The biggest threat of the entire story solved by accident, by a guy who was just trying to figure out what that annoying noise was.
So in the end, while all these incredible S-class heroes were having these life-or-death battles that defined who they are, the actual strongest person there ended the entire war without even realizing it had started. It really makes you ask, doesn't it? In a world full of ultimate forms and god-level threats, what does it even mean to be strong? And what's the point of all that power if it just makes everything boring?